we have Tim Burke joining us here on stage, and as you know, Tim is the founder of the local moto club, Cincinnati Cafe Racers, and for many years organized bike nights, rides, and events like the Queen City Mods versus Rockers, Motoberfest, and the infamous, as we know and love to attend, Garage Brewed Motorcycle Show. He also owned the local motorcycle shop called Piston Society, but now he doesn't do any of that and simply likes to travel by camper van or motorcycle. He has many stories to tell, but this one is rescued. Please welcome to the stage, Tim Burke.
I'm going to talk to you a little bit about one of the best years ever for me, 2016. So there was a lot going on in 2016. We did a ride down the Pacific Coast Highway, which is what you're looking at here. The famous Bixby Bridge in the background. My buddy Logan and I from Lexington. We did this from Portland, Oregon, all the way down to LA. 17 days, hammock camping off the back of the bikes, never knowing where you're going to end up each night. Fantastic trip. Really enjoyed it. You can hit another one there. And so, we launched from Cincinnati. We shipped our bikes out there, flew out, did the whole drive, and it was fantastic. I'm going to do another. So most of you know then, also in 2016, 2015, 2016, I started a retail shop, Piston Society. So that was a motorcycle shop down on Ray Street in OTR. And in this shop, it was a great year for us too, opening up that shop. You can do the next image there. And obviously we rented zero motorcycles, as you can see here. And next image, you can see we actually had a lot of goods and that sort of thing that we're trying to bring brands that you didn't find in Cincinnati very often and do that sort of thing. So 2016 was an epic year for me. And one of the things that I want to talk about is some of my friends from Do the Ton, which we always meet at Barber down in Birmingham, Alabama each year. And that October was no different. So I organized a ride to Barber through the shop. And of course, nobody actually came with me. So, so I ended up riding, but actually met a buddy of mine. You go to the next slide there. This is Black Betty. So this is my vintage BMW. This is a 72 R60/5. That one shows the touring tank. I think I swapped over to the other tank for it. And I met up with Chad Francis down in Louisville. He raised his hand and said, "Hey, I'm not from Cincinnati, but I'll go with you." So he has the exact same bike, but in red. So next image there. So this is Black Betty. She's fantastic, but I was having trouble with getting the carbs right. It had these anemic little Bing carburetors, so I was replacing it with Makunis and trying to get everything dialed in. A little foreshadowing here. Next image. And so packed it up, got everything ready. I traveled pretty light. So I think after that trip of hammock camping off the back of the bigger bike, I kind of got a little carried away, but I have all my gear there. And you can go to the next one. I'll just give you the finger nod whenever And so go ahead there. I rode down to Louisville, went to the Barrett Bar, which is what you're looking at here, their patio. There was a band playing, it was bike night, it was fantastic. Met up with Chad and met up with Patrick Elward. Everyone knows him as Crash. From Chicago. And so you go to the next image. We left from there and started heading south to Birmingham. So you can see both of our toaster tanks here, matchy-matchy, having a great time. I will crush on Crash here a little bit that he had his white car with him. He was not riding, and he was our backup support vehicle. A little foreshadowing here. So here's Chad on his bike. I had the GoPro going, get a few images. We had a fantastic ride, trying to stick to back roads whenever we could. And as we did, we had a great time. His back, though, by the time he got to Birmingham, wasn't feeling so good. All right, but we did make it. Chad is also the owner of Retro Wrench, so if you have an old bike and you need some help with it in Louisville, he's your man. Now, when I'm at Barber, I often hang out with my buddies from Do the Ton. Do the Ton is an online forum It's kind of that cafe racer craze, but really it's just all about building anything. And I've never been much of an online forum guy, but somehow I fell into this group. And often we're sitting around at Barber in the evenings at Kylie's house, that's Kylie on the left, fixing old bikes, wrenching on them, go to the next image. And camping in his yard. So there's my tent there, my hammock that I did on the PCH. A whole bunch of us just camp out at his yard and wake up each morning, go into Barber, have our blast of a day, and come back and wrench on bikes and drink and party and sit around kind of like we're doing here, telling stories. Okay. And when you're at Barber, if you haven't been to Barber before, it's much like Mid-Ohio, but it's kind of like zoysia grass, it's kind of like the how do you say it? Like the country club effect versus redneck paradise that you can see at Mid-Ohio, okay? But I highly, highly recommend it. You're gonna see some funny local guys here from Cincinnati down there, racing or hitting the swap meet like we're doing here today. And you're gonna find some great bikes down there. Everything from great little vintage Suzukis, which was a lot of fun to ride. And they had Ace Corner, if you guys remember Ace Cafe, which is no longer around. And they also had Dime City Cycle. So Dime City was doing the whole cafe racer scene. This was that whole do the ton scene. So we would participate, we'd volunteer as do the tonners, we'd have a booth set up, we'd do all these things, and basically free labor for them. Now, Barber also has a great museum. I'm sure you guys know all about it. They have everything from vintage race cars and motorcycles. I think there might be another image. Zero, they have a Zero in there. I was blown away, I loved it. And just about any bike you can think of, you're gonna find inside the Barber Museum. But plan at least a day, like take a whole day out of your Barber experience and do just the museum. Or go on a non-vintage festival day. Look twice. So Brandy, of course, you saw his shirt, and I'm not sure if this is, I'm not really sure who this is. It might be Scott, but I can't remember now exactly who this was, but not me. Now, in the evenings, we'd all go back to Kylie's house. He's like one exit down the highway. Hanging out, telling stories. So much like you've seen tonight, everyone's telling stories. No slideshows generally. And this is exactly what you're gonna see, right? Moonshine, starting fluid. A lot of guys from Louisville there, so there's always bourbon. Things get a little crazy. A little foreshadowing. And so, this is exactly what you're seeing. This is blah, blah, blah motorcycles in an Alabama kind of, frame of mind. So I am not much of a mechanic. Many of you know this already. And George, but I'm the photographer there, evidently. So I'm always capturing what I can and hanging out. So we sit around telling our stories, drink a little moonshine, and then as things keep going, things will get a little crazier. Next day, you get up and you go back into Barber. You might get a chance to demo ride a nice BMW. I don't know who has the R9T out there, but I love that bike.
Jesse.
Oh, Jesse, that is so nice. I have been jonesing for one of those since they first came out, and someday I will have one. Of course, next evening you're back at Kylie's house, hanging out, having a great time. Notice the /5 there. Next image. And we have a lot of fun. It's some really good people, really, really good time. Now, often there's a bike laying on the ground. Occasionally someone's peeing on it just for laughs. This goes way back to years of other events and inside jokes. So next. Now, some of you may know the captain here from Mid-Ohio, but he was also enjoying Skinny Ricky's bike at Barber. And of course, I had just started Piston Society, so I was promoting a little bit, Black Betty, hanging out there with the Piston. And I actually met George Barber. So if you don't know what George Barber looks like, George is the old guy in the middle. And every now and then at these events, he'll come out, usually the last day, and socialize a little bit with everyone hanging out. And since we had been putting together the Ace Corner and helping out with that, He was very generous and very nice guy. But I did mention moonshine, right? So often, the wives, the girlfriends, it gets to be a tight little clique. It's a lot of fun. And so we had a lot of fun with some of the photos. But after a little bit of moonshine, guys will not be outdone. There was actually a series of like 6 or 7 images. I was gonna do like an animated GIF and just show the whole. It gets how it got there, but go ahead. It starts, with something simple, like a little Barbie who got a little crazy that night.
It's a way better Elf on the Shelf.
Yes, exactly. Elf on the Shelf. Now, so at the end of this trip, things are wrapping up, but my buddy from Louisville, Chad Francis, my master mechanic who I rode down with, wasn't with me, and I was having some problems with those carburetors. I was trying to get them dialed in, and it was a little finicky. And on the ride home, going through Tennessee, I was experiencing some problems, but I decided I was going to go up on the Cherahalla Skyway anyway, and I got to ride it as I'm driving past on the interstate, right?
Yeah.
So, beautiful views, great road, fantastic place. And eat my combos, enjoying the view. Oh, maybe I got 2 of them in there. But inevitably, those carbs, I'm not sure what's going on with them. But I also brought like spark plugs because, I thought maybe the plugs are fouling. Oh, they're not too bad, they're kind of bad. I'll just put new plugs in. I was having some difficulty, and it was starting to get late in the day. So I had my plugs with me. You go ahead. And eventually, it was getting dark. I thought better of this. I'm like, I cannot keep going out to Cherahalla, how many miles, and have to make it all the way back. I'm not sure if this bike will make it. As a matter of fact, I was so not sure the bike was going to make it, I decided to coast down the mountain back down to Tellico and get back to the highway, right? Eventually, now this is somebody from locally, I can't remember who took this photo. We took a photo of me, 2 photos of me as I'm driving on the interstate. And this bike was like going 40 tops on the interstate. Wow. It's getting dark. This is somewhere in like Corbin, Kentucky, something like that. And back up one. And not having a good time. But it started to get dark. It started to get cold. And this bike is like backfiring and just sputtering, giving me all kind of difficulty. I could not keep up to speed. So it got to where I was drafting off the back of semis just to kind of make it up these mountains and hills in Kentucky. And then it's getting misty. I can't even see hardly. I'm freezing my ass off. I get to Lexington and I'm frozen. I am in hypothermic. I pull off at a Waffle House and just to get some hot coffee in me. And as I'm sitting there, I'm debating, do I keep going forward? It's only 2 more hours to get back home. But I'm shaking. I could barely, make it. And this bike is giving me all kinds of hell. So I walk out of the Waffle House and start the bike, and I'm gonna go. And then that's what you see in the next video is that bike would not start. Would not start. And this is probably the next day when I'm still trying. And it is popping, cracking, not gonna do it. So that evening I decide, okay, there's a hotel right next to the Waffle House. I'll spend the night. I put out a Hail Mary on Facebook on the Cincinnati Cafe Racer group page, which, it's 1,000 local people. Can anybody help me out, or does anyone know what was his name? Don Regal's number, because I knew he was nearby. And go ahead, the next one. I was still at the hotel the next day. Yeah, wait. What happened was amazing. What happened was the motorcycle community, which I've already talked about a little bit, right? We've talked about, here, back up one. We've talked about Do the Ton and the fun that we have with the community there. All the events that we do, all those sort of things that the motorcycle community is great for. And this guy that I kind of knew, met a few times, Nick Dunn, reached out and says, my trailer's still hooked up to my truck and I can be there in an hour or two. So that next morning, that's what I woke up to. You know, I put out the Hail Mary the night before, wake up in the morning, some guy's willing to come help me out. So you can go to that next one. So that's his truck. It's actually the same day, but he must have just gotten back from a trip. Unloaded his things, brought his trailer, nice Kendon, which was for sale at the time, I didn't know. I should have bought it because I'm gonna need it. And comes and gets me at the hotel. So this is the actual Facebook post, you know? He's like, I have a trailer in my truck right now. You know, I can be there in a couple hours. Next image. And the fellow was so nice, comes and gets me. We drive all the way back, have a great conversation, drops me off at my door. My bike and I get back in the shop. You know, everything's good except this thing is not running. And Nick has done me a solid. Wouldn't take any money, didn't care about his time or his gas or anything like that. So, blown away by this rescue from someone I kind of knew. You know, when you are in the Cincinnati area, you meet a lot of people, a lot of acquaintances. You have some friends, but there's a lot of acquaintances. And this fellow was willing to come rescue me, so that was fantastic. So that's me that evening at the at Barber, famous photographer who's also part of that group. Got a quick one of me, which I'm not used to being on this side of the camera, on that side of the camera, so unusual there. But you're going to meet some great people in Cincinnati, and you're going to meet people in the motorcycle community who are fantastic people. Alicia was my first demo rider on the Zero motorcycles. And of course, her and Scott both with the Look Twice Cincinnati events. And then recently, Scott Hoblob, also from Louisville, who was a fantastic person. So you meet these great people in your lives, and one of the things to think about is make sure you're reaching out to friends who you haven't heard from in a long time. We all carry a lot of guilt after things happen, so. Next image there. I'm not really sure where that came from, but I'll leave you with that thought. So that was me being rescued by the local motorcycle community. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. What Tim has highlighted is, I think, what the Louisville community and the Cincinnati community have been faced with, unfortunately, in the last year is, you know, a lot of loss and a lot of pain with that loss. But these stories and these community events are why we keep, you know, meeting up, because you are each other's support, whether it be being repaired on the road or being an ear to, you know, to listen to. So I'm going to highlight what Tim just said, which is please reach out to your people. And when your people offer help, accept it, because it's what keeps our community whole and keeps everyone here and loving each other. So if you would, before you leave tonight, give each other a big hug, you know, just really tell each other you love each other, and kind of keep this community strong, because I got to tell you, I've done a little bit of travel now with this stuff, and there really isn't a community like Cincinnati. You guys really have something special here. So just give yourself a good squeeze right now, because you are all completely amazing. See, Eric gave himself a squeeze. Give yourself a big squeeze. Thank you, Tim. That was really lovely.